because of the heat that we have.
Hello, welcome back. Let's do my makeup quickly and go to the store to buy some Valentine's Day gift for my kids' class. Every year I tend to do that, buy the gift for the class and also for the teachers, because we all know they're doing a wonderful job. Okay, I'm going to
Regular income coming in.
Oh,
So
if you're wondering what I'm watching a Netflix series, Was Roommates from Hell, and I'm in episode called Housemates from Hell. So
a room for rent, nice house, come as you go, separate entrance, and then she would say, "Oh, here's a rent, here's a deposit," and people would show up with just that rent and just that deposit, and she would take the money and give them a key. But nothing like, "Where do you work? Where are you from?"
We asked her to screen them before she had them come live with her. And she didn't do that because it costs money to do background checks. I needed live with roommates out of necessity. And also, I believe maybe being lonely and not having someone there with her.
Having the roommate sort of worked for a while. Daryl was one of her first roommates. I think Daryl was the longest roommate she ever had.
I was going through a divorce and I was living in a shack out in the middle of nowhere with no heater and burning wood on a stove to keep warm. And my car was falling apart because it was a long drive to go to work, so I really needed to move somewhere closer to work. I was pretty desperate. I had bad credit because my divorce was going on and I was having a hard time finding an apartment. So that's how I ended up going on Craigslist to find a homeowner who was desperate as I was to get a tenant, and found Anita's ad for a room for rent. So the house was pretty immaculate, kind of like it is now, except it was just cluttered with all these fancy little things that she got from all over the world. The room was nice, and it seemed like a real fit for me and my cats to come move in with her. And that was that. She didn't do any kind of background check or anything like that. She very quickly took my money and gave me the key. When I first moved in, me and Anita got along pretty good. She seemed like a nice woman, and I have respect for people who are a little older, and was going to do everything I could to be the best tenant for her I could.
Anita said that Daryl was a little different than what she was used to seeing, but he always paid the rent, and she was okay with him living there. I've only met Daryl a few times. I've found some of the things he did to be a little peculiar.
Most of the time, I'm just hanging out in my room and hanging out with my cats, and just, we just see each other in passing. Everything was fine. Anita's house was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, and she was renting out both rooms in that house as much as she could. There were several people that lived in the room across the hall from me. There was a time when she was having trouble with one of the tenants, and a friend of mine and myself had to intervene. We had, tell them to cool it off and cool it down, because they were getting a little heated, being disrespectful to an elderly woman in her own home.
She had all different kinds of issues. She's had times where people would come in and they just want to squat in the house, and they wouldn't pay rent, they would keep eating her food.
Anita had difficulties with different tenants, so she would call the police essentially to assist her with removing these tenants. So on multiple occasions, officers had to explain to her that there's a legal process on how to evict these tenants from her home.
About 2 years after I moved in with Anita, she introduced me to a friend of hers and his name was Scott Pettigrew.
Anita met Scott through work. They instantly had a connection.
My first impression of Scott when I met him was that he's an educated, clean-cut gay man, typical of Palm Springs area. So when she came up to me and told me that Scott was going to be moving in, I was kind of happy for Anita to have a new tenant that she knew, someone that she trusted. So I gave Scott a big hug and was very happy to see him because things were going to be easier around the house for all of us.
Anita liked Scott. She liked the company, and they socialized. She never socialized with Daryl, but with Scott she did.
From the time Scott moved in with his 2 dogs, he started being strange and odd. Sometimes he would just open my door and shut it real quick while I was asleep. Then I would come very angrily out of my room and say, "What are you doing? Next time knock." And he would say, "I just want to know if you're home or not." He would come in and like knock something off of a dresser and then run out the door before I had a chance to really fully wake up and realize what happened. Just odd things that would just drive you nuts. Terrorizing my cats. Every time Scott would come in and slam the door, they would freak out and go hide. I had complained to Anita on numerous occasions, but she declined to do anything. She said, "That's not my problem, that's between you and Scott."
Anita, I don't know if she didn't care the 2 didn't get along. Scott just could talk a good talk. He just was a charmer, and she trusted him.
Scott had Anita convinced that I was doing all kinds of weird things around the house that I wasn't doing. I had a flashlight in the medicine cabinet that I keep just in case the lights go out. And he had her convinced that 2 little holes on this flashlight were a camera and a microphone, filming him naked while he's in the bathroom. I said to her, "It's not a camera," and she didn't believe me.
I've known Anita many years. She's a very strong woman. And I was a little surprised that she would even believe that. But she did.
I didn't like him very much. I don't know why she was so interested in Scott to this day. But, whatever he says, she wanted to go along with.
It was trouble. He was very pushy. He would try to get his own way. And he definitely did not want Daryl in that house.
At one point, Scott was stealing things and blaming it on me. Scott took the shower head away, and he convinced Anita that I had stolen the shower head. He was stealing the light bulbs out of the porch light and blaming it on me as well. And then he started stealing the cleansing tablets out of the toilet in our bathroom. Anita came to my door asking me why I was stealing the little blue cleansing tablets out of the toilet. And I said, "I'm not stealing those tablets. I have no use for those. Why would I take those?" But Anita was constantly believing him. The whole time, Scott's over her shoulder, snickering and laughing. And I just remember thinking, this is crazy.
Anita was freaked out because there was just weird things happening. Like things were being stolen, things were disappearing. She goes, "I don't understand why Daryl's doing that to me. What's the purpose? Why is he being like that?"
So the worst thing that Scott did, he had thrown up and defecated in the bathtub. And it was disgusting. I went to take a shower and the bathtub was full of just... He told her.
So at that point, my mother started getting nervous. She was just not trusting of Daryl very much.
Scott was manipulating her, and it was working, and started looking for a new place to stay. Anita and Scott were locking me out of the house by chaining the door shut. I actually had to call the police probably 5 times in 2 weeks to have them come let me in the house. Because, you can't just lock the door on someone and say you don't live here anymore. They were threatening to call the police on me and lie to the police. And I decided I needed to pull my phone out and record this. This is important. I don't want the police to be lied to. So I pulled out my phone and pressed record and kept it down low.
Do you really think that you're going to have more credibility than the two of us? Seriously. Do you know how many attorneys I know in the Coachella Valley that I went to law school with? I'm not playing here.
So
I'll show you my degree and you can look me up on the internet.
So you're
I'm not playing here.
Okay, so you're...
So you need to listen.
And that's when I raised the phone up to show him that I'm filming this. And he immediately changed the subject.
Film me all like you filmed me naked in the bathroom. What?